Well, I want to thank you, Mr. Chair, for holding this forum on the disastrous impacts of President Trump's wall. And I want to thank all the members of the panel for educating us on the various impacts. I think it's so sad, I'm going to preface my remarks, I think it's so sad that instead of truly talking about how we protect our nation, our communities along the border, the ecology, the ecosystems, the environment, we spend time talking about how we destroy them and what we're going to do about this. This is a sad day for America. I personally have grave concerns about the border wall, but I also have grave concerns about the separation of families, the elimination of DACA, the rolling back of immigrant rights. While this is still a meeting related to the issues of Natural Resources Committee, I'm going to focus my concerns about that, but I just want to say my concerns go far greater than what we're talking about here today. We're talking about the future and of democracy and what this nation stands for, whether we really truly respect the Statue of Liberty and inviting people to come here, or we're talking about walling off our nation from a democratic neighbor of ours. So this is really a very, very sad day that we're at. We don't have to guess what the impact of wall construction will have on the ecosystems or our environment. We already know there's 700 miles ramifications and impacts of these 700 miles. Well, I'm struck with it. It's been mentioned that the Department of Homeland Security has already waived nearly 50 federal laws, including the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, the Endangered Species Act. All of this has been pointed out by the members of the panel. The Antiquities Act, the American Indian Religious Freedom Act, the Native American Graves Protection Act, and the Repatriation Act, and so many, many more. I represent California, Southern California, part of Southern California, where we see much of the impact of drugs. I know that the vast amount of drugs will not be stopped because of building a wall, will have no impact at all upon that. I see the Coast Guard daily dealing with what comes up from various places to California. I see the fact of 18-wheelers that come through the border without being inspected. We're not talking about a new wall. We're talking about why aren't we truly trying to focus on the problems that we have rather than separating us from the rest of the world. And I'm also very concerned with what Mr. Jose, the Vice Chair of the Tohono O'odham Nation, I hope I pronounced that correctly, that you mentioned. Without tribal consent, when we go across native lands of Native Americans, at best, it reflects a lack of respect. But more importantly, it really reflects a complete disregard for the rights of Native Americans. This is outrageous, the fact that we are even talking about taking rights away from people. We know, let's focus on why we're here. We know that the wall severely impacts migratory as well as endangered and threatened animal species. Jaguars, wolves cannot scale these walls, nor dig tunnels, so we're going to impact that. We have seen existing barriers catch debris. They function as dams, not as walls to keep people out, and after rainstorm, they wreak devastation upon the communities. And we've seen a number of examples where this has already cost millions of dollars. But as this committee knows, and what this committee is focused on, with climate change upon us as a major threat to this nation, we are going to see more severe weather. We're only going to see situations like this get worse, and if a wall will be built, it's only going to exacerbate a crisis that we're already not dealing with. We're just going to make that crisis worse. So I have a few questions.